Poverty in Mexico. That's the title. Oh, okay. All right. So we were saying that this stratification and the study of these data is not only so that we can recreate an alternative universe, or we can just enjoy seeing people suffering, but it is to guide the decisions of the policymakers and the lawmakers, because it is out of the social responsibility that we are supposed to better each other's lives. Okay, and the maldistribution of wealth is not our fault. I mean, it's not our fault that we were born in a better off situation than the poor people. However, we are responsible for stopping or reverting in whichever way possible a little bit of this maldistribution and inequality. Okay, in whatever possible way. We're not gonna eradicate it in 100%. I don't think any society ever has eradicated poverty, because we have a lot of poor decision makers, and especially after reading the article that I assigned, well, it talks about a culture of poverty. That means that poverty is not only a state in which you are born with and the kind of money you earn at the end of finishing a task, but poverty is also a culture. So if you are born inside a culture where you only beg and you do not work, where you only receive and just put out your hand, but do not make any effort for getting anything in your life. If you were born in a culture where there are no dreams, or every dream has been painted in front of you as if it was unreachable, then obviously you're not even going to develop that quality of thinking or imagining that you could be better off. You are only and all the time going to be trying, in general terms, I mean, there are many exceptions to this rule, but you're going to be in general terms always trying to get over the present problem that comes to you in that spot. Okay, and it's not about generating any new ideas, or we're not even going to talk about entrepreneurship. I mean, what the article explained is that poverty is also a culture with its anti-values and its way of living and its way of thinking and its way of solving problems that to you and me seem as they are not solving anything, but making something like a snowball effect, in which today I start dropping out from school, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be a teenager mom, being pregnant at the age of 14, and then I'm gonna have a very, very bad love story, and so that is gonna bring me more and more situations, drug addiction and prostitution and you name it, robbery, crime, a crime historical. I mean, it's kind of like I put it, is a snowball effect in which the decisions of today imply a consequence tomorrow, and that consequence is going to get bigger and bigger as time goes by. Okay, so we're gonna see the consequences. I was showing you that we're gonna see social consequences, economic consequences, psychological, sanitary, political, and racial ones. Okay, so let's begin with social consequence. Now, this is pretty logical, but until we don't put it like that in a very, very logical way, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense not because we don't know that these things exist, but because they are a line or a dot in our history. They're the logical consequence to whatever was previous. Okay, so we were saying that student dropouts, since people are not making enough money for maintaining themselves, well, they're forced to by the culture, by the standards. Studying is not even an option, because what are you going to do with that knowledge if you can be already earning some money so that you can have some food on the table, if you have a table. Okay, child labor, that leads to the other, gender inequality, because if everybody goes to work at the age of 10 or 12, then guess what? It has been proven that since probably age 13, males are always stronger than girls. And whatever job in general terms that hasn't to do anything intellectual, well, guys are gonna perform it better just because of muscular tonification and all of that stuff. For anatomy, just because of that, we have a gender inequality. If you're not using your intellectual capacities. And that leads to chauvinism. Chauvinism is the ideology or the cultural standard that males are better than women, okay? And that is cultivated by this. If the girl is pregnant at a very early age and her man has kicked her out and she has to see for another baby and she has to stay home to take care of that baby, and then now this so-called husband or whatever is the equivalent at that age brings the food to the table, then she is subjected to that other person because she cannot go out to work. And some women stay with their male just because they are the providers of that household. And they cannot see any other possibility for developing and especially raising a child. Okay? And that leads to teenager pregnancy, as we just mentioned. Now, on the other side, we have some economic consequences. If we have a lot of people going into the informal market, our unemployment rate is going to raise. Okay, we're going to have a high unemployment index, which is out of the people that has turned 18 years old up to the people that has turned 65 years old, which is kind of like the age in Mexico for retiring and for pension policies. Then out of all that people, let's say we're 128 million inhabitants in Mexico, let's say that 40 million people belong to this age group, and so that becomes the 100%. You count all the people that are not working, that should be working, but are not producing any wealth in the society, not even a good or a service, then you have an unemployment percentage. That unemployment percentage, Mexico has managed to keep it under 7%, or even the last years to keep it under 4%. That is a very, very good rate. It represents thousands of people being unemployed, but that doesn't mean they are totally unemployed. They have the informal market to go into, okay? So a high unemployment rate brings and raises all these problematic. One of those that is not listed in my presentation is crime figures. The more people that have nothing to do with their lives and have no objectives in society, then they're more prone, they're more vulnerable to start a crime, to start a robbery at a bank, or to just get whatever they need for the means of living in another way, in a very informal or even illegal way. Okay, because it's easy money. It represents easy money for them. Then lowering consumption of goods and services. If you are not employed, then you're not receiving a salary. If you're not receiving a salary, you don't have money to waste or to buy or to pay or to rent or to anything. If you don't have that, then the economy is not boosted and you are part of the problem. You're not even solving the problem. You're part of the problem. That's why a lot of countries have opted, not because of environmental issues, but because of these kind of issues, economic issues, to eliminate people from lower classes. And they can make up whatever notion or reason to do so, but the real intentions is not even the environment, okay? Because if it was, the first thing that should be sanctioned would be many industries due to the residuals and all the breaking of the environmental law that there are. So if the real issue was environmental, then other measures that are a large scale impact would be taken before the pregnancies or before the birth rates and etc. I mean, both things have to be taken care of, but I mean, I'm just inviting you for the analysis of thinking that there's something out of the box, okay? Then the next is the psychological consequences, okay? Under this part of the presentation, I invite you to just like have some empathy. I mean, I don't ever wish you to be in that position or anybody related to you, But these being rejected by society, being neglected, having a lot of frustration in your soul, obligatorily has to bring low self-esteem, depression and anxiety, personal insecurity, although you may be not calling it that, but it is. I mean, being rejected over and over again in every single corner of the city that you want to wash a car, you want to wash a window, or you just don't have a future ahead, then, well, it's very bummed. It's very, very bummed. I mean, I'm just imagining or making a very full comparison, like so many people and that were in sixth semester facing the COVID-19, and now they were told that all the graduation ceremony and all the party and the trip has been moved back, or it has been pushed in dates, and maybe with the probability of not even celebrating anything or having an alternative logistics for this event. Well, they were bumped up because you have some expectations and they are just puffed away. So now imagine not even having any expectations to be puffed away. That's the real problem that these kind of people face. They don't have a future. They don't even know a reason for living. There are many, 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 many people that have nothing said in what comes to their dreams, or they don't have anything to say when it comes to a project. They don't even know what is that, to project, to entrepreneur, to found, to start something, okay? Now, that brings a lot of alcoholism because you want to evade. Whenever there is a problem that is bigger than you tend as a defense mechanism to evade. And some people go into drugs, that's substance dependency, or some people go to alcohol. Right? So that brings more and more. Now imagine people that are consuming in a constant way. Now they become, well, some of them become aggressive, some of them become friendly, some of them just become useless and go back to that home that is totally unstable and be aggressive or be useless to bring some more money in. Then that detonates more problems and it adds up to our snowball that we were talking about. Okay, there are then some sanitary consequences. The most important one, I think, is malnourishment. Malnourishment brings you all these types of vulnerabilities for stationary illnesses, the flu, the cold, the influenza, whatever, you name it, pneumonia, TBS, etc. So if your whole body is not equipped for facing, or your immune system is not equipped for facing these threats, then obviously you're just gonna be one of the victims, one of the statistics for people that are dying out of this whatever thing that they throw at you, okay, whatever, little things. Even in developed countries like Mexico, that we have the peripheral parts being underdeveloped, it's like we have many Mexicans within the same territory and within the same borders. Then you see people that have a very high standard of living going to the best hospitals, and then you have people that haven't even stepped into a hospital. They don't even know what it is, a vaccine. They don't have anything completed. Like if you ask for their vaccine card, they're not going to have a registry anywhere in the world. Okay, not even their moms. Maybe their moms left them. I mean, I'm being sarcastic here and it's very harsh, but it's the truth. Okay, some people do not even have anybody in this segment of the society. You don't even have anybody qualified or old enough even to take care or look after you or look after your health, because they haven't even been raised properly. All right? So it makes you very, very vulnerable for stationary illnesses or illnesses that you wouldn't even believe. They were supposed to be eradicated from like 100 years ago, and we still haven't, and it still kills people. It can be mortal. All right? Finally, second to last, political consequences. The educational lack brings ignorance to the people, and that makes people that are ignorant and that have this education gap, vulnerable for political participation. That is, whatever candidate, whatever populist candidate, like we just had 2 years ago here in Mexico in the last elections, whatever candidate can come and promise you whatever, and you that do not have any further information or any criteria well formed, then you're gonna just go for whatever or whoever brought you the more attractive gift in exchange for your vote. Okay, and people in campaign are very demagogic, they're very, very populist, and so in all Latin America, we are suffering for a political vulnerability in what comes to ignorance, a humongous ignorance in all the terms that are around. Right now, here that we are facing the going back to normal policies and blah, 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 well, we can see very, very clearly how many government leaders are taking decisions that the Constitution doesn't even grant them. Okay, there are many things that the Constitution is very specific. These issues, this type of issues, belong to this level of government, the federal government. Or these type of issues, let's say mobility, it belongs to the state level of government. And these issues such as electricity or sewage or parking belongs to the municipal level. And so right now, many of the leaders from many states have been taking advantage of the situation of the contingents, and due to this emergency state, they are bending the Constitution, they're bending the laws, and they're proclaiming themselves kind of like supreme leaders in a very dictatorial way, in which you invade the jurisprudence and the limits of other level of government. Okay, and that is very dangerous, because these seeds, these plues into the soil of the Mexican society, especially in the lower classes, a precedent. A precedent is something that you put, and then everybody that comes next starts doing what they saw it done. So this is one of the cases in which what you see is stronger than what you read or what people tell you. Okay? Reality has always had a weight more heavy than whatever law, whatever must-do policy that some leaders show or throw at you. Okay, so educational lack brings ignorance. What is ignorant people more vulnerable to becoming? Well, like sheep, like cheap sheep. Cheap sheep. Okay? And finally, and I'm sorry for the time because I already went over, racial consequences. Okay, and with this idea, I just finished my presentation. Ethnic segregation, we have to remember that Mexico has a lot of population that is still indigenous, and they are just extinguishing themselves. When we have always declared in front or facing the international community, we have always said that we are appreciating, that they are precious to us. And well, the reality is that there are not enough budgets, there's not enough policy making for preserving the traditions, the uses, the customs of the indigenous groups. And I mean, the cultural patrimony is very important, but it comes second to the nutrition, the conditions, the opportunities, the economic equality, the political representation, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so it is true that we should preserve these people's traditions, and these people, they should have a place, a very privileged place in our society, in our system. But that comes, even when that is very, very important, it comes second to the basic needs that the government should provide the conditions well enough so that these people can develop. Okay? So 15% of Mexicans still belong to these indigenous groups, many of them. And that is a very, very low statistic, because as you know already, Mexico had much, much richer ethnicity variety in its territories. Okay, so basically that's it. And let's schedule for Monday at 12. Okay, everybody is on the okay. All right, guys. So see you on Monday at 12. Do not be late. All right. and I will test. Any questions? Alrighty then, guys, thank you for your attention. You will still have that assignment pending in Moodle, and you already have all the specifications for your last project. We still have 2 more weeks to go, so keep it up. Bye-bye.